If you grew up any time between in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and even today, you normally on a Saturday night around 11:30 would hear Live from New York, it's Saturday night. But why did Saturday Night Live start? Why is it still on? And is it popular anymore with the normal people in today's youth? Or is it just for Gen Xers and before who try to stay up till 11:30 but normally can't, so we have to watch it later on YouTube? So let's talk about Saturday Night Live. That show your parents swear used to be funny, that one of your uncles won't stop quoting in a bad Chevy Chase voice, and the one you only know because of someone on TikTok reposted a clip of Pete Davidson singing about NFTs. But here's a question. Is Saturday Night Live actually still alive in the TikTok age? Or is it basically the comedy version of Blockbuster Video? Nostalgic, important in its time, but now it's just sitting there rotating as the world moves on to other media. Spoiler, don't tell. It's both. Which makes sense because, well, this is America. We don't kill institutions. We just keep them on life support until they're embarrassing. Late night television is going away. Shows like Stephen Colbert has been canceled, and the other two late night shows seem to be following suit. But Saturday Night Live has survived Nixon, it has survived Carter, Reagan, both Bushes, Clinton, and it still survives on humor that not everyone finds, well, humorous. Here's how Saturday Night Live was born. 1975, post-Watergate, Nixon is gone. America doesn't trust politicians. TV news are really anything except, well, disco and cocaine. NBC, desperate for something new, hands a young Lorne Michaels a late night time slot. The result, Saturday Night Live. From the very show, the show was tied to history. Chevy Chase pretending to fall down as Gerald Ford. Suddenly, the president is a clumsy guy. John Belushi made chaos an art form. Gilda Radner basically invented the comedy queen template every sketch show now rips off. SNL became the voice of the counterculture, but conveniently on a network owned by corporate America. Nothing screams a rebellion like making jokes in front of a Pepsi-sponsored set. Then fast forward through the 80s and early 90s. Ronald Reagan is president. America is in love with consumerism, Wall Street greed, and hairspray. Saturday Night Live becomes less revolutionary and more pulp culture factory. We get Eddie Murphy carrying the show on his back. Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood, Gumby, Buckwheat. Murphy didn't just save SNL, he pretty much made it the coolest comedy launchpad on earth. Then came the 90s. Enter Bill Clinton. Perfect for this show. Enter political scandal after scandal. Enter Will Ferrell, screaming as George W. Bush. At this point, SNL isn't just doing comedy. It's shaping how Americans view its leaders. Dana Carvey as George H.W. Bush wouldn't be prudent, okay? He also did the church lady and other gags, but George Bush, Ross Perot was his thing. Daryl Hammond, he played Bill Clinton for a while after Phil Hartman did it. Norm Macdonald's charismatic and sleazy nightly news got him in trouble, but also kept people watching. SNL became history's unofficial court jester. If the news told you what was happening, SNL told you how to laugh at it. Norm Macdonald got in trouble because he made fun of O.J. Simpson during his murder trial, and magically that was an issue. David Spade talked about Eddie Murphy's career falling like a falling star in the 90s, and Eddie Murphy wouldn't come back to the show for 20 more years because of it. We had people like Chris Farley, Adam Sandler. We had David Spade, Norm Macdonald. We had all of these comedians who started their big careers on SNL and then went on. A few of them passed away because, well, they partied a little too hardy. But a lot of them just grew and expanded and changed the world around us because of it. Will Ferrell's another one. Then comes the 2000s. 2000s was a big decade. Why? Well, let's think about it. 9/11 hit. We had wars, economic crashes, the rise of the internet. Comedy suddenly felt heavier, angrier, more robustly negative. Remember, Tina Fey played Sarah Palin, who was John McCain's vice presidential candidate when he was running for president. This wasn't just a sketch. It was basically a campaign ad. Pollsters literally said Fey's impression changed how voters saw Palin. That's power. It gave her a negative outlook because Tina Fey did such a good job. By this point, Saturday Night Live wasn't just reaching and reacting to history, it was shaping it, which is hilarious when you think about it. America's greatest political influence in 2008 wasn't the debate. It was Tina Fey saying, I can see Russia from my house. Okay. We also had lots of different, Bill Clinton jokes, Al Gore jokes, George Bush jokes. Basically, no one was off limits. And of course, the rise of TikTok and YouTube has changed them again. Because the internet, it happened and everything changed. Why wait a week for an SNL parody of a news story when TikTok will give you 300 parodies in 24 hours? Why sit through 90 minutes of sketches when you can just scroll through 30 seconds until you find one that makes you laugh while sitting on the toilet? Comedy moved from a stage in New York to your phone screen. TikTok comedians, no censors, no executives, no Lorne Michaels whispering, make it broader for middle America. YouTube sketch groups, they're faster, they're weirder, and they don't need NBC's approval to exist. By the time SNL writes, rehearses, and performs a sketch about a TikTok trend, TikTok has already killed that trend and replaced it with something new. Saturday Night Live is essentially a grandparent trying to do Fortnite dance. Endearing? Yes. Relevant? Not really. So is SNL dead? Here's the thing. SNL isn't dead. It's just institutionalized. It's the Broadway of comedy. Nobody's canceling it, but nobody under 30 is planning their Saturday night around it either. What is it good for now? Being clipped. Ironically, it survives because people watch sketches on YouTube and TikTok. Staying as a comedy rite of passage if you're a comedian. Hosting SNL is still a milestone. But the days of being the voice of comedy, that era is gone. So back to the question. Is SNL alive or dead in the TikTok, YouTube age? Answer, it's both. It's a zombie show. It's like The Walking Dead. Still walking, still groaning, occasionally funny or gruesome. But no one is pretending it's the center of culture anymore. SNL went from being America's counterculture voice in the 70s to being another clip for you to scroll past while doom scrolling at 2 a.m., which honestly is the most American ending possible. Because history doesn't kill institutions in this country. We just let them slowly fade until they become a trivia question. SNL isn't gone. It's just comedy fossil, which occasionally dusts off and laugh at. And then, of course, repost in TikTok. We have today in today's comedy world for SNL and other shows, you'll have Ryan Gosling sing I'm Just Ken, or Pete Davidson sing I'm Just Ken. I'm Just Pete instead of I'm Just Ken, like Ryan Gosling in the Barbie movie. You'll have someone pretending to be Hillary Clinton after the election and singing Hallelujah, as Hillary Clinton on the piano saying, don't give up, don't give up. We're still America. And then you'll have hosts come on like Dave Chappelle who basically say, people, listen, the system's rigged. You're just figuring it out now because you haven't been paying attention. And they haven't been paying attention because a lot of people who watch the show are my age, my ethnicity, and well, we're a little slow on the upkeep. We sometimes think that the world revolves around us, that the world is all about us, and that the world will listen to us because, well, we're special. We're not special, but we think we are. We're Gen Xers. I don't stay up till 11:30 on a Saturday night. Now, will I watch reruns of it on YouTube or TikTok? Absolutely. But I don't stay up to do it. There's no point. What's funny is when I was looking at the ratings of Saturday Night Live, the ratings for their show that they do, like a highlight show or a best of show at 10 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock at night on the election nights, or, after the election or before, those get higher ratings than their live show on Saturdays. And that's because people like me are still awake. And we're awake, so we watch it because we still enjoy the old stuff. I enjoy when Phil Hartman was on the show before he passed away. I enjoy Chris Farley, Adam Sandler. I still watch Adam Sandler stuff, even though some of it's just goofy. I still think David Spade is wacky, but okay. Dana Carvey, love Dana Carvey. I loved Eddie Murphy on the show. I love Tracy Morgan. These people have been on and off for decades, okay? Norm Macdonald, I remember how much trouble he got in when he made fun of OJ. And that's okay. That's what you're supposed to do on a show like that. But in today's world, they don't do it. Why? I think they're more worried about sponsors and staying on the air. They actually had, I can't remember his name, but basically, let me look it up. They had a guy on there who they actually fired. And because he was basically he tweeted something forever ago. And then magically he became popular and they had him back. So Shane Gillis, that was his name. He was on the show, he got hired. Then basically they said, hey, you said something back and due to his racist and homophobic slurs in a podcast. And he was trying to make a joke, and basically the joke didn't hit. But comedy used to be okay with that. If we took off the comedians in the 70s and 80s and early 90s for making racist or homophobic jokes, no one would have been on the show. Eddie Murphy always did that, and no one cared. John Belushi, same thing. Chevy Chase was a weirdo, but he was comedy back in the 70s and 80s, to where they gave him lots of movies and lots of money. But no one cared. But now they do. Shane Gillis blew up as a comedian, and they had him come back as a host multiple times. And that's the point, is they are so worried about sponsors that they're getting rid of the humor that made them popular, the cutting edge, the things that people were afraid to say out loud. SNL would say. Before I knew it, I didn't realize you could make fun of a president before Dana Carvey did it. I didn't know that you could make fun of church people until Dana Carvey did it. I didn't know anyone would think to make fun of Mr. Rogers until Eddie Murphy did it. These are people who stepped out and said, hey, this is funny. It's funny because it's kind of true. Mr. Rogers, Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood. Eddie Murphy did Mr. Robinson's, of course, Mr. Rogers. And he had the same tone, tenure. But instead of being perfect like Mr. Rogers was, he joked trying to be perfect while the landlord was trying to collect rent. There was gunfire around. He was basically living in Harlem in the 70s and early 80s, where it was dangerous. And it was hilarious. It was hilarious to see Phil Hartman play Bill Clinton, and eating McDonald's while women are fawning over him. Because it was true. Bill Clinton was a womanizer who likes Big Macs. Okay, it was true. But no one dared do it unless you were on Saturday Night Live. Dana Carvey would say, read my lips, no new taxes. He would make fun of Ross Perot because he talked really fast, like he was from Texas, billionaire talk. And it was hilarious because when you watch these guys on TV, it was true. These politicians were horrible at being normal, a normal person. And that's what SNL brought out, that normal people watch these crazy people wanted to be like them, even though they realize these crazy people are crazy. They don't need any more influence. But here's the thing that SNL has really done well. It has tackled historical events the best way it knows how. It handled 9/11. It's handled war. It's handled disease. It's handled COVID the best it can. It's handled scandals from Bill Clinton not sleeping with someone to the Iran-Contra hearings to everything in between. It has handled it with laughter and sometimes without. After 9/11, the first show that they showed, they had Rudy Giuliani, who was the mayor of New York City, Republican. SNL did not normally get along with him, but they knew at the time having him on was the best thing for the country. And at the end of the show, they had firefighters, they had police officers, they had Rudy Giuliani on there. And the whole point was, we can laugh at each other. This is America. It's allowed. It's allowed to be stupid. It's allowed to be funny. You're allowed to make fun of each other because history isn't always fun. History sometimes is scary. It's dirty, but we don't have to like it. We don't have to like it at all. And that was the point of the show and still is. So can TikTok and YouTube overthrow SNL? I don't think it can. I think the only thing that's going to stop SNL is Lorne Michael when he either retires or passes away. I think unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on who you are, the show will survive because it has just enough political stupidity going on in the world where it can stay relevant. The world is a messed up place, and shows like this still allow us to look at it and understand how messed up the world is, but maybe laugh at it. Everything from Ariana Grande being the voice of multiple channels on Sirius XM to, people pretending to be Washington on crossing the Delaware and talking about what America is going to be and not using the metric system. And, Kenan Thompson keep asking, what about us, sir? What about us, us blacks? What about our African Americans? What are we going to do? What's going to be for us? What about my people? And he would change the subject because he didn't want to talk about it. Because that's probably, let's be honest, that's probably what happened. Thank you all for watching. Have a beautiful day.